Mesachta Menochos, Daf Tzadik Tes, Amud Aleph. We're starting Mamish from the top of the Amid. So yesterday we learned that the way the Shulchanos were set up.
You didn't bring the book.
No, but here he has a beautiful picture. The way the Shulchanos were set up was in two shurais. So now we're going to talk about, there was a machlekes, how it was set up, but from in the Tzafin side, because it was two shurais. Either it was set up in the Leng, 5 shulchanes, and then another 5 shulchanes, and Moshe Rabbeinu's shulchan was in the middle, or that meaning that it went both from Mizrach to Ma'ariv in the length, right? And Moshe Rabbeinu's was in the middle, and there was another day that said no, that the shulchanes went this way in the width, 5 and 5, and the Moshe Rabbeinu's shulchan was in the middle. It's understood according to the Man Da'amah that says Tzafim Nedarim. Let me just show the picture again. From Tzafim to Darim, if it went this way, and Moshe Rabbeinu's shulchan was here, so you have a lot of space.
Yeah.
You have here space 2.5 amas, 2.5 amas here, 2.5 amas here, and then you had a whole bunch. You had space to move around. So then he says, good. He says, Tzafim Nedarim Shapi is good. El Man Da'amah Mizrach U'Ma'ariv. But according to Man Da'amah that says it went this way from Mizrach to Ma'ariv, this way. Then we got a big problem here.
You're blocking up everything.
Huh? Oh, so what's the problem? If it's going from Mizrach to Ma'ariv, you're not going to have space. Look, you have to be in the 10 amas. The width of the Beis HaMikdash was 20 amas. To be on Tzafin side, it can only go till 10 amas. If it goes over 10 amas, you're already in Darim. The shulchan has to be dafke in Tzafin.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you start counting here, we got a major problem here. You start 2.5 amas. Let's do all the 2.5 amas. You have 2.5 amas here, because you need 2.5 amas for zwei kahanim, soll sich drehen.
Yeah.
So you have 2.5, 2.5, and 2.5. How much is 3 times 2.5? Should I take off my shoes? 7.5. Okay, now, the other
7 toes?
And now the shulchan itself was amma. So you had 1 amma of the one shura. Moshe Rabbeinu's shulchan is 2 ammas, and then the third row, the shulchan was another amma. 3 plus 10.5 is 7.5. Is 10.5. So you have a half amma already is in Darim. Is in Darim. It's a problem. The shulchan is telling us Zayin in Darim. So that's what the Gemara is going to say in a lot of words. That it was Mizrach Ma'ariv, it went from Mizrach Ma'ariv. Shulchan Kama Mashach Ben Akaisel. How long? Meaning, how far were the shulchanis from the shura of Tzveinis, from the Kaislat Tzveini? Shtei Amas Nachza. It was 2.5 amas. So then you had Amad Day. Then you had the shulchan itself was Amah. So you had 2.5 amas from the wall to the shulchan. If you want to see the picture, here, from the wall of Tzafin till the shulchan was 2.5 amas. Then came a amma the shulchan itself, and then another 2.5 amas to Moshe Rabbeinu's. Then he says, weiter. Then you had between the shura and Moshe Rabbeinu's shulchan, again 2.5 amas. Here's the picture. Here's 2.5 amas between the shulchan of Moshe and that. The Amad Day, and Moshe's shulchan alone was a Nachama. Then between Moshe's shulchan and the Beinu Beini. Then between Moshe's shulchan and the last shura is again 2.5 amas.
Yeah.
And then the shulchan with the day, the Amad Day, and the last shura, the shulchan itself was an amma. So you start at the kachel shulchan palga the amsa bedarim. So if you count, you have 10.5 amas, and half a amma is already sticking out over the 10 amas into darim. You cannot have that. The whole shulchan has to be in Tzafin. What's your shayla? Do you think Moshe's shulchan was between? Here he shows you this. It wasn't in between the shuris. It was like this. It was outside the shuris. Moshe Rabbeinu's shura, and the shuris were here. And then he didn't need so many amas. He didn't count Moshe Rabbeinu's amma. The midley leu marach leid shulchan of Moshe Rabbeinu.
So how much did you only use? 7? You only used up 7.
You only used up 7.5 even. So what?
Yeah, 2.5.
2.5 plus 1, but 5 is 7. It's 7. It's 7. Yeah. So he says, and you brought up the shulchan. Moshe Rabbeinu shulchan was brought up further, outside of the shuris, and it was also elevated. It says, it went on a slope. As it got closer to Kodesh HaKadoshim, the hill was higher. So Moshe Rabbeinu's table was high, as shulchan was higher. And from the other shulchanes were more towards Mizrach, more towards down the hill. More, this is Mizrach. The other shulchanes were more towards Mizrach, and Moshe's was more towards Ma'ariv. Okay, we are Talmud.
How do they have all this?
Like a Talmud, but usually in the classroom, like Melech is sitting as the Rebbe, Mizan and Talmidim, he's sitting in the front. So there's nothing between us. It's just this. If Moshe Rabbeinu, Melech, wollte gestanden da, we would have had to be 2.5 arms from him. 2.5 arms, but he's standing over there. He's not in between.
So does it make some sense that that's where it was? That's where Moshe.
That's where Moshe's shulchan was. Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
So why is
Works out perfect.
So who's disputing that?
No, nobody's disputing that. That's only according to that day. But according to the one that says that it didn't go, it went in the width, you have no problem. You have a lot. In the bottom picture, the way the shulchanis went from Safin to Darim, that's perfect. Because even if Moshe Rabbeinu's table was in between, it would work out. Because you had 10 you had more than 10.5 amas.
2.5 and 2.5.
You had 20 amas if you needed. What?
Because you're going
in the length. You're going the length. Okay. You had 40 amas. Okay. Sagt die Gemara, Shlomo HaMelech made 10 shulchanis. V'lo hayim esadim ella al shulchanoi, and the whole cedar of Lech Mapanim was only on which shulchan? Only on the shulchan HaMoshe, not the other 10. Shenever steht in Pasuk, shulchan she'alav Lech Mapanim zahav. It says shulchan, one. Lashon Yachid, that only in that shulchan, the shulchan of Moshe Rabbeinu, that's where they were Masad the Lech Mapanim. And you can't have more. You can't put on all the tables, then you're even Babal Teisah.
What was the size of the shulchan?
There was Amasayim, 2 amas in the length and 1 am in the width. Okay. There were 10 menorahs, and the only one that was lit was Moshe Rabbeinu's. Hazav is also Lashon Yachid. So it says Lashon Yachid in this pasuk that only one menorah was lit. Which was that? Moshe Rabbeinu's. That you could choose any table to put the lechem hapanim. It didn't have to be dafka Moshe Rabbeinu. Why don't you say it was put on all the shulchanes? Because that will be Bal Teisif. You're not allowed to have. It means that you could choose any shulchan. Shenever, like it says in the pasuk, that's shulchanois plural, that you could choose any shulchan. Ubekulon haymadlikin, and by the menorahs, all of them could have been lit. Meaning any menorah could have lit, or according to another day, all the menorahs could have been lit. Shenever, like it says in the pasuk, es amenoirois when they say hem levarom kamishma lefnei hadvir sogur. It says menorahs lashon rabim. So it's mashma they were allowed to either light any menorah, or they were allowed to light all the menorahs. Rabbi Yehuda says the only place where they put the lechem hapanim was only on the shulchan of Moshe. It says plural shulchanos lashon rabim, so it's mashma it doesn't have to be dafka on Moshe Rabbeinu's shulchan. He says, no, das was steht shulchanis, this that say lashon rabim shulchanis, elu shleish shulchanis shahayu b'migdash. It's corresponding to the 3 shulchanis that were in the migdash, which were shnaim shahayu be'ulam mebefnim. Achutz from the 10 menorahs, there were another 2 menorahs or 2 shulchanis in the ulam. Ulam was like the corridor right before the heichal, the wider binyan before you came into the heichal. Right? You remember that?
Oh, so it's that's the name.
Yeah, but we're the ulam.
We
learned it, yeah, but we have a picture of the whole setup. But okay, the ulam was the like the corridor right before the Heichel. Right before the Heichel. Here, this is how it looked. Das given the Ulam, and then came the Heichel. This was the Ulam, and then went in the Heichel. The Heichel narrowed in. Okay, so in the Ulam there were two shulchanis. Echad shel kesem, echad shel zav. Here it doesn't mean silver. Rashi says the reason why this that it says silver means really white. It was made out of marble, shayish. Legabe zav, it was considered as kesem, because kesem is whiter than zav. Zav is yellow. So, but it really means shel shayis. Al shel shayish. Al shel kesem, on the kesem. When you entered into the Beis Hamikdash, you had to. It was so heavy. It says somebody I saw in the previous block in the Ha'aretz that to carry the 6 breads it was 70 pounds. It's not even light, so you had to take a rest. So you put it on the kesef. The Shulchan shows the kesef before he started, and then when he walked in with the new lechem. So when first when he would enter with the new breads in order to put it on the shulchan of the heichal. Baal shel zav, and then he would place the lechem aponim coming out the yitziyase. When he went out with the lechamim with the breads, he put it on the gold. Because when you're going up in kedusha, first he came in with the breads, it was so heavy, he put it on the kesef. But then you put it on the zav.
The old breads. Didn't he have to remove the old breads?
Yes.
When did he remove the old breads?
No, they pushed it in. The way it worked, they came with the new breads, and they would push in the bread and push out the old bread. They would come in the new because it has to be tamid. Always the bread had to be a whole time on. So they came with the old bread and then pushed it out. And
you weren't allowed to touch the breads.
What do you mean allowed to touch?
You said you came with the breads and the breads.
The shulchan couldn't be without a bread. So how'd you get rid of that? You push the old bread out with the new bread.
How'd you push it all the way back in? More further in to push
more
it out?
further out to push
Somebody
it out.
was to sing the back
From the other side,
it.
and somebody was at the opposite.
Somebody
Two other
had to
kanim
catch
were on
it,
the other
yeah.
side. He's right. That's what it says. It says beferish that there were two kanim on the other side. Anyway, so it says Malam HaKodesh, you have to start off with kesem, then you go to the zav, then they put it on the zav. And the same thing when they came out, they put it on the zav. Echad shel zav b'fnim, and what Shabbat Makkah v'loy maridin, okay, and that's why they first put it on the kesef.
Why
And then
did
the
they have
Malam
to put it down on the zav when they walked out? They were already carrying the bed.
No, because it was taken off zav. You don't go down. It already has the kedusha of the bread from the shulchan. It's like a kli so you don't go down kedusha. So after you took it off and it was hot, you put it on another shulchan shel zav, not shel kesef.
When he was hot, the bread was still hot from a whole week.
Yes, that was the
That was
miracle.
the miracle,
It was
exactly.
smoking.
There's
You
a
saw the
there's
smoking
bread?
too. Yeah.
And it was
a
still
story
hot.
about it.
Very hot, yeah.
We had toast. They ate toast.
Okay, I don't know if it's toast. Okay, in order that it shouldn't go down in kedusha, so they would at the way out they would put it on shulchan shel zav. Echad shel zav. There was one b'fnim inside the eichel. Shalom lachma panim tamid. The one the lachma panim when they put it on the shulchan that was in the eichel. That shulchan was in the eichel, and that had to be tamid with lechem. Okay, but you want to know what they maridin? How do we know that your man bakach vein maridin? Rabbi said it says in the pasuk. Vayokam Moshe Samishkan, Vayitnes Adon, Vayosmes Krashov, Vayitnes Bicham, Vayokam Samudav. It says again Vayokim. Say in the beginning of the pasuk, and say in the end of the pasuk. So first of all, he should have used a different lashon, nish Vayokim, Vayitin. So from this that it says Vayokim is telling you that in kedusha we only milim and we get stir up. And there's another pshat that who's the one? Here it says that the one Vayitnes Adon Vayosmes Kras Vayitnes Brich Vayokim Samadav. Who is the one that did it? Only Moshe Rabbeinu. And since Moshe is the one that did the Hakamas HaMishkan, right? So only somebody in the level of Moshe, he was the only one that was allowed to do it. So they didn't allow any other. He's the one that started, so he had to do the whole thing.
I mean, all the time Moshe and Rabbeinu was doing the breads.
No, by the putting up the Mishkan. Yeah. It says, you're soon going to learn that he picked up the Yeriyas. Once he picked up the Yeriyas, he couldn't drop it. He had to put the Amudim under it. You couldn't put it down because the Yeriyas was on the top, and he's supposed to be Malam HaKodesh. You can't put it down. So it was a miracle, it's brought down in the Medrash, that this Davish to help them, that he should be able to hold the Yeriyas up in the air and put in the Kroshim. Anyway, so he says, Amar Rabbi
He
Yaakov.
could have sent the Malach to help him. No?
Okay, the baby was a malach helping him. I don't know. It says there was a miracle there. So you want to manola on the Ma'il. How do we know that you're Ma'il Makadosh? Amar Rabbi Acha, Amar Rabbi Yaakov, Amar Kral, it says in the pasuk, Es machtois hachatoim ha'ila. By the machlokes of Kirich Hadasai, they all were demanded to come with pans, and we'll see whose potatoes will be burnt. So they were burnt instead of the potatoes. They were burnt with the potatoes inside, and only one that was Aaron's was accepted. Eis machlis achatoim ha'ila b'nafsheisam, but also eisirikuyu pachim tzipulam mizbeach, because they came out with these pans, and they were killed, but they had the pans. So these golden pans, what did they do? You couldn't make it low in Kedusha.
They were Kodesh already.
They were Kodesh, so they made it part of the Mizbeach. You can only be minded about Kodesh. But Chila, the Machlis were only Tashmish Mizbeach, and then Ma'ashav at the end, what happened? They made it Guf Hishal Mizbeach. They made it that it should be a tzipui to the Mizbeach. Mamish part of the Mizbeach. So that's how you know you're Malam Kodesh. So the Gemara brings a Braisa that teaches where were the broken luchis. So the Gemara was Samtam Ba'arin. It says you should place Asher Shibata with Samtam Ba'arin. Tony Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef had learned Malamed Shaluch Legam Shivi Aluchs Menoch Ba'arim. Side the second luchis, and side the first luchis, the broken luchis were placed in the Arein. How do we know that? Because it says Asher Shibarta is extra. It should have said, what's the lashon of the pasuk? Ve'echtev ha'al haluchis es hadvarim asher hoya al haluchis harishonim. What if that you write on the second luchis, right? Those words that were on the first luchis. What do you have to say? Asher shibarta. What's Asher shibarta? So it's telling you that Asher shibarta.
You know, if you have a second luchis, that the first
one, right? So obviously. So Asher Shibat has come to teach us that even the broken luchis were placed in the other. Mekan, from here we learn out, a Talmud Chacham, Sheshach Talmud, Machmas say, a Talmud Chacham which forgot, and he didn't chaz the Gemara. A Talmud Chacham that he forgot, but it was Aines that he forgot, She'ein noigim by minig b'zayim, that we don't treat him like a b'zayin if he forgot everything. Here he's referring to Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef is the one that said the word. And we know Rabbi Yosef forgot the Talmud. So he's come to teach us. You have to give him the same covet as if he has the whole Talmud in his hand, if he forgot it, b'inus. Simon, Bitel, Sarach, V'shachach, these words are remes to the three members of Reish Lakish, B'nagei Bitel Teira. Amen Reish Lakish. Pi Amin, Shabitul Shal Teira, Zeu Yisuda. At times being Mevatel Teira, and that's the schar. What does that mean? If a person was Mevatel Teira in order to be Mishtatif in Halvoyas Ames, or if somebody or somebody was mishtated in Achnosas Kal Lechupa, that in itself is like an encouragement. He's Makabel Schar as if he was Eisem Batera. Okay, even this that Rabbi Posach, it doesn't say here. But Milsa de B'dichusa, Rabbi would start off with a joke. Don't say he's being Mevatel the Torah. That's part of interacting, making it entertaining for the Torah.
That's why you say jokes.
Okay, Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu said to Moshe, Yishak koichacha sheshibarta. Yishak for breaking the luchis, only because he broke the luchis did we get the second luchis. So there's many different mefarshim that have brings down breaking the luchis is before that they can get. There shouldn't be a marriage. That there should be a divorce. So he broke the luchis before. That was the kiddushin. So even though Moshe broke the luchis, it was mevatel l'teira, but Eibishter was maskim, because what was his kavana? His kavana that this time the Yidden will do tshuva and they'll receive the second luchis. Here he says, "Shakavana shebeik shvis haluchs harishenis nitnu haluchs hashnis lam yisol sheila malei hayeshev v'meishas haluchis lo hayu zeichem beluchs hashnis." It's only because he broke the first luchis we were zoich the second luchis. Okay, Zok Gemara Bava Reish Lakish Talmud Chacham Shes Sarach in Mavaz Noiz B'Fahesia. Talmud Chacham that sinned, don't be Mavaz him B'Fahesia in publicly. Shenema like
Niet
says.
samen Chacham kan ik met jou. Niet samen Chacham. Ik met je Mavaz
Mavaz sein mit Sad. bitush about Talmud Chacham, you have to give him the respect. That's
Yeah,
it.
no.
Well, privately you could be
He's put a nidui, but don't publicize it. Excommunication, you do it sometimes in public, not by Talmud Chacham. Never like it says in the pasuk, "Chashal tayem chashal gam navi imcha loyla." Navi means over here. The pasuk is telling you navi means that the navi that's mentioned in this pasuk is not dafka navi. It means that any Talmud Chacham. That what it says kaseyu kalayla, that you should cover him like the night, meaning that a person, nobody should see how he's being embarrassed.
Keep it in the dark.
Keep it in the keep it quiet. Whoever forgets even one thing from his learning, maybe you shouldn't learn Chatchila, so you won't be able to love. Shenever, like it says in the pasuk, Hisham lecha u'shmei nafshecha me'oid pen tishkach es advarim u'k'de Rabbi Yavin Amar Rabbi Yila, like Rabbi Ovin said the name of Rabbi Ovin Amar Rabbi Yila kol makom shenemer Hishama pen ve'al. Wherever it says these three words, Yishama, Pen, and Al, Einoi Ella Mitzvah Loisase. It's only a Mitzvah Loisase. So you see, when the Torah says Yishama Lechal Pen Tishkas Advarim, that if one forgets anything that he learned, he's going to be over on a lav. Ravina Amar Nishtein lav. It's more in the same pasuk. It says Yishama Pen. So it says twice the lashon from lav. Shnei lavaninu. He says it's two lavin, and Reish Lakish says it's all one lav. But Ravina says it too. Rav Nachman Yitzchak argues on Ravina. B'shleish lavim, because Shenema Yisham Lecha, that's one lav. Ushmei Nafshecha is a second lav. And then Pen Tishkach Es Advarim is a third lav. So he says you all go on three lavim. It's a big shayla. Maybe you shouldn't learn at all. No, here it's
Where do you get that deal?
No, because the Gemara is going to say if somebody reads Krishma in the morning and at night, it's as if he was Hagisa Yom Valayla. So maybe you should just do Krishma, that you can remember the whole time. We'll soon see. Yachal, I would have thought that a person is on these labim, afilu, machmas einsoi, even if he was an einus like Rabbi Yosef, forgot the Talmud because of an illness, Talmud Lema, no, it's not so. Ufen Yisur Mavacha b'msiram b'libay, not because of einus, hakas medava. That's when you'll be over. Rabbi Dostoi, Rabbi Yanei Omar. Rabbi Yishtay, the son of Rabbi Yanai had said, Yachel, I would have thought that a person is able on these lavim, I feel takva Allah mishnase. Even if he has a shvera cup, he says, shver zu verstehen, he doesn't understand the Gemara. Rav Mal used to scream, shvera cup, he used to explain 3 times, and that's it, he gave up. Talmud Lema, in order to teach that's not
so. They used to learn 100 times, though.
Yeah.
He gave up everybody on
No, Joe, he did it quite a bit. But then he said, "Shvere cup." He used to say, "Taka love Mishnasi." If he's having a hard time understanding it, I would have thought even if he has a hard time, he should be chayiv. Talmud Lema, that is not so. Rak, Hisham Lecha. The word rak is a miut to teach us that somebody who forgot the Talmud because he never really understood it, so it never permeated him. So he's not even under this above mentioned love. Rabbi Yochanan Rabbi Elazar Tavayu. Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar both say Torah nitna ba'aboyim. The Torah was given in 40 days, meaning in the 40 days that Moshe Rabbeinu went Lashamayim, and now unishama noitza ba'aboyim, and the neshama is created in the guf, in the mother's womb, in the mother's stomach, 40 days. So he connects both the 40 and 40. Kol ha'mishama teiras v'nishmas mishtameres. Whoever is Mishama preserves the Torah, his Torah, then his Neshama is also preserved. But somebody who doesn't preserve the Torah, then his Neshama is not preserved. That he won't live, he has to preserve it. A mashal to a person that had given a very wild bird. You have to watch it if you want to keep it. The minute you take off your eye, it can fly away. You think that if you lose this bird, the master is telling him that all you're going to have to do is pay me back what it's worth. No. He says, I'm not taking your life. Okay, Zog the Mishnah, he says you have to preserve the Torah, you have to chazah.
Yeah.
Shnei shulchanis hayib'ulam. We just said it before. You remember there was the silver. It wasn't really silver. We explained it was white. Legabe the gold. It was shayish. It was made out of marble. Shnei shulchanis hayib'ulam. Mibifnim al pesach habayis. At the entrance of the bayis. What's that entrance? Right before the entrance to the bayis called ulam. In the ulam was the two tables. Oh, here it says echad shel shayish. Here it says, but it spells it out. Not kesef. One was marble, echad shel zav, and one was gold. Al shel shayish noisen lech ma'apanu b'knisasim. When they came in, it was so heavy, they plopped it on that table of marble. Al shel zav, and then they would place it. The old bread, b'yitziyase, they would place it on the gold table. Like we said before, because in Kiddush you have to go up, you can't go down. Then it says, the echad shel zav, and another shulchan was mibifnim, the regular shulchan which was used as the lechem hapanim. She'ol of lechem hapanim tamid. Upon it was the lechem hapanim constantly. Va'abba koyanim nichnasim. There were 4 koyanim that went into the Heichal Levi Shabbos to bring in the new bread. Shnayim biyadam. 2 would carry a shnei azdarim. The two sets of 6. Ushnayim biyadam shnei bazichen. And the other 2 kanim had to hold the bazichen.
Bazichen was that heavy?
Bazichen was not. That's what the Mishnah is going to explain. Or Rashi explains. Bazichen was a little spoon with frankincense. Why? What's that to be left up in Tzvei Kanim? Let him take 2, one in the right hand, one in the left hand. He says, no, he couldn't do with the left hand because they had a din like the kmitza, the bezichen. It has to be done dafka with the right hand. So unless the left hand can turn into a right hand, then he can carry 2. But he has only 1 right hand, so you need another kohen with a right hand. 2 kahanim, shnei bezichen.
What if he was a lefty? You can't. Then
He still has.
It can't be.
No, then he takes it still with the right. Or the left is the right, and then you need 2 lefties. 4 were marked before them. 2 to take the 2 zdarim, meaning the 2 sets of 6 of the lach bapanim, and 2 to take the shnei bazichen. Hamachnisim that brought in the lechem and the new levina were in the batzafin. We're standing at the north of the shulchan, upneim ladorim, and the face towards the dorim. And those that took out the old lechem and the old levina, the badarim, they stood on the darim side, on the opposite side of the shulchan. Upneim letzafin, they faced tzafin. Eilu meishchin in hashulchan. Eilu meishchin. These took off the shulchan, the old lechem. Eilu manichim. And these are the other ones put in the new.
So there was a second.
Oh,
a
so
second
look what he says.
right?
But no, he says v'tivchei shel zeh keneged tivchei shel zeh. That while these were pulling, the others were pushing. So it's, why did they do it? Shenema lefanei tamid, because it has to be in front of you the whole time. It has to be on the table the whole time. Where do we have similar to that? Oh, by the half a poles. Rashi said. You remember that they put 3 poles between each bread because it was so heavy and they needed the air that it shouldn't become moldy. So they put 3 poles on top of the bread. Yeah. So the Gemara says, you know how they did it? They picked up only a little bit on one side because they wanted the lechamim, the bread, should stay on the shulchan the whole time. Then the next one they picked up this side. That's how they worked it. So the Gemara, even if these kahanim took off the old bread completely, and then the other ones came and put on the new bread, that's also called tamid, even though it was a drop of a half sec. Okay, so one rega machnestois. The key is that it shouldn't go overnight without any bread on the shulchan. Yatsu, the kahanim left a heichel, and where did they put the old challah al shulchan hazav shal on the golden table that was in the ulam. Hiktiru habazichen. They burnt the ketores that were in these spoons on the mizbeach outside. And the chalis, once they burned the bezichin, then the chalis became mutter for the kahanim to eat, and they divided between each other. Mm-hmm. Now we have a different problem. If Yom Kippurim fell out on Shabbos, where it's forbidden for the kahanim to eat, and he's supposed to eat the challah on Shabbos, but it's Yom Kippur. You got to fast. How are you going to eat? It says achalas b'schalchis le'erev. They would divide the bread. Motzei Shabbos, perfect. After the fast is over, they have nice fresh bread. Zog Yemara Chol Yom Kippurim Leis be'erev Shabbos. What's if Yom Kippurim fell out on erev Shabbos? Now we have another problem. So you can't cook on erev Shabbos, and we're talking about the Sor Shel Yom Kippurim. Nechol is eaten by the Kohanim usually le'erev at the end of Yom Kippur, but now you're in Shabbos and it's raw.
Yom Kippur.
It's after Yom Kippur, but you couldn't cook. So how do you eat it? So he says, "V'habadliyim the Kohanim from Bnei Bavel, they ate it raw, no problem. Mipnei Shadait and Yafav, they weren't bifunokim. It says they were able to do it." Zagi Mother Tanya Rabbi Yossi, we learned Rabbi Yossi says, "Afilu silek esa yishona shachris, v'sides hachadosha arvis." Even if he took off the lechma panim, the old lechem in the morning, and then the spet by nacht, they put in the new ones. It's no problem. It says it has to be on the shulchan constantly. It means only it means it shouldn't go overnight without bread. But you can have a hefsek within the day, take out the bread and wait a couple hours and put in the other bread. Rabbi Yami said, from the words of Rabbi Yossi we learn out, even if a person learned only one Perek in Shachris, Perek Achas, Echod Arvis, Kiyam Mitzvahs, he fulfilled the mitzvah, Lo Yomish Sefer Torah, Hazem Mipicha, V'agisa B'yem Malayla. It's only Perek. So others learn Prag and Perek. Adur Ginum the Inyan Perek means he broke it apart. He learned it so well. Okay, Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. I feel like Kare Adam Al Kriyas Shema Shachris VeAvis Kiyam Lo Yomish Sefer Torah Hazem Mipicha V'agisa B'yem Malayla. He was Mekayim just by reading, saying Krishma in the morning, and at night he was Mekayim. So that's what I was telling you. Maybe we should do that, because that you won't forget, and you won't be even allowed for forgetting. We say if you learn too much Torah and you forget, then you're Yeva. I was nicht saying. Okay, I'm just saying you have to learn the whole time. But that was also the stuff about the that also you never fulfill the mission because you have to learn Kol HaTorah Kula. It says this you should never tell Amaretz. If you say Kishma in the morning at night, don't tell him that, because he'll be happy with that.
So nobody wants to go to yeshiva.
Nobody will go to yeshiva. Yeah. But Rava says mitzvah. It is a mitzvah to tell the Amaretz, because if you tell the Amaretz and the Amaretz will see the Talmidei Chacham know this, and they still don't look for a loophole. That means there's a tremendous chai in learning more than just saying Kriyishma. So they're going to encourage their kids to learn much more. Shol ben Dama ben Achisei shel Rabbi Yishmael. Ben Dama, the nephew of Rabbi Yishmael, is Rabbi Yishmael. That's Rabbi Yishmael. Kigayin ani. Ben Dama said, like me, Shalomad the Kol HaTorah Kula. I learned the whole Torah. How could you say Kol HaTorah Kula? It says the Torah is Arucha, everything. So the answer is, it's referring to Torah Shabbat Peh, but when it comes to Pnim Sateh, there's no end taket. He worked in the government, so he wanted to get a heter. He said, I learned the Kol HaTorah Kula, and he worked in the government. He wanted to learn the Chochma Yavanis, the Greek Chochma.
What's the Greek?
Whatever, philosophy probably. Yeah, Aristotle. I think these guys were from there. Kara Alav Hamikra Hazeh. So Rabbi Yishmael said to Ben Dama, Lo yomer sefer HaTorah azemi pichda agisa b'yam v'layla. Say uvedeik shah sheina loy min hayom v'loy min halayla u'lemay b'chachnu yivonis. He said, "Gefin epsashah." That's not part of the day and night.
When he's in the bathroom,
There's no such a thing. Every hour is part of the day and night. So go find that hour there, and then you'll learn. So, meaning you can't. There's no hour for you. Upliga Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachman. Right. Oh, here you see that Upliga. And he argues on the Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani. The Rabbi Shmuel bar Nachmani, Rabbi Yonasan. Pasuk zeh of lo yamosh ain't a lo chayva v'lo mitzvah. It's not a chayv. It's nicht a mitzvah. Ala bracha. The Eibishter gebench Yeshua. Roah Hakadosh Baruch has Yeshua. Shedim yaterich avim alav Yosef. He saw him staying at Gehalten. He was next to Moshe. He wanted every word from the Torah. And at Yizan, he loves the Torah. Shanama Moshe Yeshu Benu Nar. Lo Yamish B'Teichel. He learned Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu. He never moved away from the tent of Moshe Rabbeinu. Therefore, the Eibishter gave him a bracha. Amalei HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yeshua. Kol Kach Havin Alecha Divrei Torah. So I will mention Lo Yamush Sefer Torah Azamipicha. The Torah will never be forgotten from you. From the Torah that you learn, it won't be forgotten. So it's not a chiyuv. So if so, Ben Dama, according to this shita, he knew Kol HaTorah Kol. He was allowed to learn Chachma Yavanis. Talking about the Tantrei Rabbi Shmuel, Divrei Torah Lo Yi Alecha Chayva. This shouldn't be like a burden on you. That's one shot. Or it shouldn't be like a chayv and say, "Oh, I'll learn now. Ich shouldn't up my zeit. I paid up the chayv. That what I have to learn." You can't do that. You have to show you live the atzmachamam. You can't part yourself and say, "Oh, yes, I've learned the Perek, the Dai Prakim from the Rambam. I'm Yotze, my quota. No Yotze quotas.
Be like money.
The more you have, the more you want.
Yeah.
What is the piddush of the pasuk? Okay, this I think I should leave for tomorrow because we're going into. Oh, I could. How much time do we have?
5 minutes.
4 minutes. What is the piddush of the pasuk? Hasischa mi pizza, to persuade him or dissuade him from pizza is referring to Gehenna, and so he says, look, that the midah of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is not like a person. Midas basar adam, other meses chaveda midach echayim ladach misa. The misa basar adam, a person persuades his friend or dissuades his friend from the way of life to the way of death. But HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the opposite. HaKadosh Baruch Hu meisa adam midach ladach echayim. The Eibishter brings you to Chaim. Should never, like it says, Va'af hasizcha, Hashem persuaded me pitzar. Me pitzar means from Gehenna, that the Eibishter persuaded a person to learn Torah to pretend not to end up in Gehenna. Megehinam. Shapi Yatzar, where the opening is very small. Why? Because Shahashana Yiyatzavor. Because the smoke should gather over there. That's why it's made small on the top Gehenna. That should be tzavah b'seichel, that the smoke should stay inside. How do you know that on the bottom it's wide Gehenna? Maybe it's all narrow through and through. Talmud Leiman comes the pasuk and says, "Hemik." As it gets deeper, hirchav, it gets wider. So you know it's wide on the bottom. La melech lo yuchna. Maybe he's come to tell you a Talmud Chacham, which is his nickname is Amelech, who distanced himself from Torah. He doesn't get the punishment of Gehenna. It was also prepared for the Melech, this Gehenna. Maybe there's not a lot of wood, meaning making a big fire that he should burn. There was a lot of eitzim to burn even the Melech. Maybe that's the schar, that he gets saved from the Gehenna and he doesn't get any other schar. He used up all his schar to be safe in Gehenna. Talmud Leima, no, he has schar. And he goes to Gehenna because it says, what's his schar? That if he learns Torah, he's going to have all the goodies, all the sweets and goodies in the world. It says, Chol Yom HaKippurim Shabbos. It says, if Yom HaKippurim fell on a Shabbos, they weren't Bavliim that ate the raw meat. It was Egyptians, Alexandrian. But since the Chachmei of Eretz Yisrael hated the Bavliim because they didn't come up to Eretz Yisrael with Ezra Sefer, that's why they call it on the name of Bavliim. Tanya Nami Hachbilim Tosin Abraisa. Rabbi Yosef Ema, Loi Bavliim Heim Ela Alexandriim Heim. They were Egyptians. But because they hated the Bavliim, Koinais Hashem Abavliim. Amalei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda said back, my mishpacha come from Bavel. So I didn't like that you said that the Bavliim do such a bad action that they eat raw meat. But now that you told me it was really Alexandriim, so Tanuach Daitcha Sheinachta Daiti. You should be calm because you calmed me down. Tell me this good psura.